big lunch is food-delicious.
The big lunch is big.
And it's lunch.
The Big Lunch is a fantastic way of supporting communities, the length and the breadth of the UK, to get together, enjoy themselves and make a difference locally.
To get people out on the street, talking to their neighbours, learning about each other, sharing their food. It's an absolutely brilliant idea and we're delighted to be backing it all the way.
The Big Lunch is tasty!
Everybody really came out and helped out today to set it all up, so yeah, everybody seems to be having a good time so far.
This is the first time anything like this that I can remember anyway. It's really nice.
We never get together to say hello, and I think it's just a really good opportunity for people really to get to know their neighbours.
The Big Lunch is fabulous!
Well, Mastercard understands that the secret to a strong society is very, very strong local communities. And we know that up and down the country, people are really keen to get together to build those communities.
So the Big Lunch is all about getting together with the people in your community, having some fun, and most importantly, getting to know your neighbours, because it's by getting to know each other, it's by working together that we'll be able to tackle climate change.
They're all wonderful. But look at that, St George's Avenue.
London's a huge city made up of people from all backgrounds and communities, very much jumbled together, and very often people don't talk enough and don't relate enough to each other. And I think it's a great way of building up confidence in the neighbourhood, building up confidence in each other.
Even in the setting it up this morning and yesterday, I've met dozens of people that I've never really had a conversation with before.
It's changed in the last year or so. People will walk dogs, other people's dogs, or they come and they water your garden when you go on holiday, or there's always someone like popping in for this, that and the other. I think that's the change, and it will be better after this.
The Big Lunch is delicious.
Remember, keep your back straight.
We found it hard to satisfy the demand for the burgers and for the hot dogs, and we haven't had any complaints so far, so that's always good.
The person who set this up thought she was just going to have 6 people and a cucumber and a tomato. But there's 82 of us here, all having a ball, all talking to each other.
But when I saw the Big Lunch advertised, I thought it was a fantastic idea. Just the whole concept of it, getting people together, getting people to get to know each other again, good old-fashioned community spirit.
Just shows you when you really pull together and you say, and it's just wee things like you'll be talking about something and you go, I know somebody that's got one of them, or I could get a hold of that, and you just bring everything together, and you don't need a lot of money, which I think is tremendous.
I think it's just important. You don't want to get together every day of the week. You know, a lot of people feel uncomfortable being with lots and lots of people, but it's a statement. It's a bit like saying, actually, I want to belong to this community, and I'm there for everybody else if and when, because we get a bit isolated these days, and I think it's really important. Don't you, Ollie? Yeah.
It sounds like Ollie agrees.
Yeah, Ollie thinks it's really important too.
Well, what a day we've had. The second big lunch, 2010. After last year, we probably had knocking on the door of 1 million. Early indications here after today, it looks like we've beaten that, and we're at the 1 million mark, which is absolutely fantastic. And let's look forward to 2011. Thank you.
The big lunch concept, it's very simple. I claim no ownership of it, it's just an idea which I think is in the hearts of everybody naturally anyway. Wouldn't it be great if every street in Britain people could actually get to know that most people on the street are actually good people?
We commissioned a big piece of art a couple of weeks ago done by an artist called Kurt Wenner, and that piece of artwork is about 5 meters square. It looks like it's like a pavement bit of work.
In the different locations that the canvas has been visiting, there's small children having their photos taken in amongst the picnic, and it actually really comes alive with people connecting with it.
Just coming up to 8:20 here on BBC Radio Derby. Good morning to you. Now then, do you think you know your neighbour? Are you good friends, or do you keep yourself to yourself and just give a polite nod from time to time? Well, next month, the Big Lunch takes place in unison across the UK. It started off in the Eden Project in Cornwall and has spread like, well, not like wildfire, more like butter, I suppose.
People are starting to realise that, communities have broken down. People don't know the people who live next door to them anymore in lots of places. And that's quite sad, especially as you get older. You can get quite isolated, or if you're new to an area. This is the one day where you can come along, meet people and talk to them without them looking at you like you're slightly strange, because that's the whole idea of the day. Come and talk to people you've never talked to before.
Now, this should tickle your taste buds this afternoon. This year's A Big Lunch has officially been launched in Leeds. There was some tasteful street art on display in the city centre this morning in the hope of encouraging people to come together with their neighbours to enjoy anything from a simple buffet to a full street party.
Do you know what? Can you just imagine a big street party right the way through the UK where everybody sits down in the middle of their street and sits down and has lunch together? I think it's going to become a part of the British calendar.
The campaign was started in Plymouth today to encourage us to get to know our neighbours. The Eden Project in Cornwall is urging people to share a meal with their neighbours on July the 18th as part of its Big Lunch initiative.
Back in the day, perhaps, when people stayed in one place for a little bit longer, nowadays we all tend to move here, there and everywhere. You would know your neighbours and you would know, whereas now people worry that they're seen as being nosy almost.
Yes, or not quite sure what your neighbours are like, so you tend just to ignore them because you don't want to get involved or something like that.
So what we're hoping to do with the Big Lunch is people are going to have to talk to each other, knock on each other's doors, plan this little street party or garden party together, have to talk about what you're going to cook, maybe make some bunting together, and it's just going to help people overcome those barriers.
Just for anyone just joining us, it's all about getting in touch with your neighbours. It's amazing how you can live in a street with somebody and you might nod to them and say hello, but you don't know who they are and you never really go beyond the first stage. So, Paul Twyvey, is that part of the Big Lunch? Is that the idea of just making us feel more like a community?
There is something remarkable about seeing all the cars cleared away. And once you clear the street of cars and you realise it's a social space again, you see everybody of every age and generation and background coming together. It has a really transformational effect.
Now, one person who's organising an event locally is Lisa Warner, who joins me now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what made you want to do it?
Well, I visited the Eden Project earlier this year, and they were talking lots about individuals being able to make change to their world, and I just loved the concept. And when I found out that nearly 1 million people last year took part in street parties across the UK to bring communities closer, I realised that we had to have one.
Now, all over the southwest, communities have been enjoying a meal together. The idea of the big lunch is to have fun and improve contact between neighbours. In Truro, people got together for a street party, and at Poltimore House near Exeter, there were book readings and picnics.
More than 250 people in Oxford have taken part in the big lunch to strengthen links in the community. The event brought adults and young people together for a range of activities. Organised by the education charity, the Eden Trust, 1 million people held similar events throughout the country.
Boris Johnson says it's overwhelmingly likely that he'll stand for election again as London Mayor. He and Barbara Windsor were at an event in Tufnell Park called the Big Lunch, which encourages Londoners to celebrate their community and neighbourhood.
Now, how would you fancy a spot of lunch out on the street with your neighbours? Well, that's exactly what residents in Tufnell Park did this afternoon. They held a street party as part of a national event aimed at getting people to know their nearest to them. Barbara Windsor and Boris Johnson both dropped in to judge the cake competition. The Big Lunch event was just one of thousands going on across the country today.
People remember great street parties in the 40s and 50s, and we want to bring back that spirit of community by having an event called the Big Lunch. Everybody can do it, but I want to go further, and I'd like to see councils making it much easier for local groups to open the streets and have a party of one kind or another to raise money, or just so people can get to know each other, because that's the way you build up a sense of trust and community.
It's an event which has been put on by the Eden Project, and they've set it up, and basically it's like happening on Sunday, 8th of July, where you're supposed to sort of get together with all your neighbours and sort of bond and have a big lunch and sort of like get to know each other more, so embrace the sort of community spirit, which is just so important, I feel.
We're talking about the Big Lunch, which will be taking place on Sunday, the 18th of July. So these lunches, I mean, are they elaborate or are they on a small scale?
They can be whatever you like. It could be 10 people getting together in your street, or it could be a full-blown party with bunting and music and hog roast, or it could be part of a bigger festival. You can get your road closed, which involves calling your local council. Some councils are shutting roads for free. You could do it in a park. You could do it on a roundabout, you could do it just about anywhere people can get together, really. The Big Lunch is a great opportunity to bring different people together, different ages, people from different cultural and social backgrounds. So we're working closely with different faith organisations to get people from different backgrounds to bring different types of food from their culture or their religion and bring them along to the lunch and get to know other people.
Having done it, my life, the street just feels different. Christmas felt different. You know, other people were invited to other people's houses during the Christmas time.
Now when people are passing in the street, they say hello, we stop and we talk to each other, and it created a nice bond between a diverse group of people.
Good neighbours are gold. They are absolute gold. I'm telling you, I have very good neighbours. I'm really, really fortunate. We have conversations over the garden fence. You know, we exchange information when it comes to, do you know a good painter, a decorator, do you know a good gardener, all of that kind of stuff.
We actually launched a new community group just simply as a result of the Big Lunch, which is now going to be running social events throughout the year.
There's this feeling, you don't look different, you don't talk differently, but somehow inside you actually feel different.